Keith Urban,
Oh,
J-Lo,
yeah.
Harry Connick
Okay.
Jr.
Do you remember what the judges said, like what their compliments
Yeah,
were?
they were like all over the map. Like at my audition, Harry Connick Jr. said I would buy a ticket to see you in concert.
Wow.
And he's the one that I respect the most.
Yeah,
so
wow,
I'm like,
that's
I'll take
wild.
that. And then
so
Keith
cool.
said yeah.
Yeah.
And then J-Lo said that she liked my singing, but she just wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I definitely learned through that experience that I am an artist. I'm not an entertainer. If I'm the only one in the whole world that connects to what I'm creating, I'm okay with that.
That's powerful.
And that even better if there's other people that connect to what I'm creating myself. The album's called Tattoo Sessions. It's the idea of someone going in and putting something on them that's always going to stay.
Wow.
And so at the time, I was booking half days in the studio.
Okay.
Because it was therapy. People go get tattoos because it's almost like a therapy, you know, in a way. And I was like, I just enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally made an album.
With more live music venues than any other city, Austin became known as the live music capital of the world in 1991. As such, we'll be sitting down with all kinds of different musicians, and today we're interviewing singer-songwriter Taylor Stearns to talk about things like the link between creativity and failure, hear about her songwriting process, and hear what it's really like at Hollywood Week on American Idol. Well, Taylor, thank you for letting us set up and take over your living room here today.
Yeah, no problem.
Into your home. With Story 512, dreaming about a lot of the conversations we have. We just know living in the live music capital of the world, we want to sit down on the other side of a lot of musicians. And you're the first one we've had one of these conversations with. So we've just been pumped and looking forward to this. And a lot of things that I'm excited to get into and your creative process and music career and such. But I think just to start at the very beginning, just who are you? Where are you from? Where did the story of Taylor begin?
Well, originally I'm from New Mexico. So I am from Las Cruces, New Mexico. My family and I moved here when I was 8. We moved to Texas.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And what spurred that on? What spurred the move here?
Actually, my dad, he had been climbing the corporate ladder in a bank for a long not for a long time, but he had reached kind of the pinnacle of his dreams as far as that was concerned, and he just felt empty inside. As a kid in school in New Mexico, I was having issues with bullying, and I was depressed as a kid, and my dad could see that, and just started kind of like praying. He didn't even know who he was praying to, but he just knew we needed to get out of there. And so he randomly got this offer in Austin, and he took it right away.
Okay.
And the market was really bad in Silver City at the time to sell. It was unheard of to hear a house selling for full price, and as they were putting the for sale sign in the front yard, someone drove by and gave full price asking.
Wow.
And so we were out of there. It was just totally something to look back on and go, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that was meant to be. We're meant to be in Texas. So yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Do you remember being like excited about that move? You said 8 years old? Okay.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So you were excited for the change, ready for the change. Okay. Okay. And is music already a part of your story at 8? Like, I mean, was it something you remember young?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I was connected. I had started taking piano lessons and stuff. I started that when I was 6.
Okay.
So I was starting to build the knowledge of it.
Right.
For a couple years at that point.
Wow. Okay. So pretty young. How old do you remember being when people started reflecting like, hey, you're really good at this? Like, do you remember getting complimented young? Hey, you can sing. Hey, you got talent.
Yeah, I mean, in elementary, and you start having the musical or talent shows or things like that, and and it's like you get the main parts of singing or things like that, and your classmates are like, you're good at this, or things like that.
And
it was noticeable.
So when did music start picking up as something more serious for you? Like, high school?
It was a slow unfolding, I guess, of it.
Yeah.
So my dad had this Gibson, this guitar just sitting in the closet, and one day I just got it out and was bored, and so I just started teaching myself how to play guitar in 5th grade.
Yeah.
And then in 6th grade, when you go to middle school, that's when you start to take band or orchestra, things like that. And so I had my heart set on clarinet. I thought the little keys on it looked cool, and the reed. I mean, who wouldn't want to play clarinet?
Yeah.
But
I played clarinet, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, and then bass clarinet.
Do you still have your clarinet?
Oh, I don't know. I think I probably rented it.
Did you name your clarinet?
That's what went wrong.
Okay.
I'm sure I would have stuck with it my whole career, but I never named it. Yeah. That was the problem.
But the workshop that they go to where you try all of the different instruments?
Yeah.
So the night before that happened, I had a dream, a very vivid dream, that I was playing cello.
Okay.
And so I walked into the workshop the next day, and I went right over to the cello and tried it out and was like, this is the one I'm going to do.
Wow.
And that took me, all the way through high school, and today.
Yeah.
Today, I still do cello.
Wow.
So.
Okay, so you're developing a wide range of talents here.
Yeah.
What age were you when you started to write music? When did that start to become like an expression for you?
I guess I started trying to write more like consistently the summer of it's the summer between 8th grade and my first year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still young.
Still young.
What were those songs about? What were you writing going into your freshman year of high school?
I had a very, very potent spiritual change in my life.
Yeah.
I had gone on a retreat with my church at the time, and I had grown up in church and all these things, and been around scripture and the Bible, and it never really, none of the puzzle pieces ever had fit together for me until that summer away. And I kind of had this surreal moment of finding God and going to scripture and understanding these things that had never clicked inside of me, that God is love, God loves me, forgives me, he wants to walk with me, specifically through the person of Jesus. Yeah. And so with that all just making sense, I felt like I needed a form of expression to express like all of the new things I was learning, and also just a new expression to connect to this being and this spiritual life that I had. Yeah. So then I started to write, I guess, like spiritual music at that time.
In parallel to this, you talked about, young, needing this move, needing this kind of like life reset type thing. How did that evolve for you middle school and high school? Like, was this depression still something you were struggling with? Did you feel like you found a new groove in middle school and high school? What was that like?
It sort of ebbs and flows. I mean, in middle school, I think that like you're so busy all the time. There's not a lot of downtime. Yeah. I would say in high school, I was more attuned to, what's going on inside of me. Yeah. And it's that thing that's like the chicken. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Right. So I don't know if it's something deep inside of me, the depression that was, I feel like is like a sadness or something that's been there from early on that has drawn me towards such a strong connection with music or art that seems like it sees you. Wow. Or is it music that makes me more aware of what's going on inside of me? So it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
It's one of the things I was curious about in hearing your story is that, you describe the way you like feel intensely at times, and like you have a sensitivity to that, if you will. And if that's something that some people are perhaps, born with or, have a wiring or a predisposition to versus are these events in my story, and it's probably a combination of, both in there. But, you having music as an outlet and as a way of, expressing a lot of that too is a really powerful companion to, experiencing and processing, I'm sure, a lot of, don't they, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
And then college, I just happen to know you went to the greatest university in the world.
Yeah.
What was your UT experience like? Like any highlights or any things like, you learned about yourself in that season? Or,
I mean, you know what it's like going to UT.
Yeah.
It's,
well, it is interesting because when you're talking 50,000 people, right? I mean, there's a very diverse set of experiences that makes up UT, if you're an athlete versus if you're, business student, engineering student, or musician, or, there's a really wide range of experiences I've noticed for people. So I'm always curious, like, some people love it. Some people are like, man, it was big and city vibes or my thing, not my thing.
Right.
So,
yes.
I
mean, I would say that, like, I'd drive through Waco and be like, okay, I think I really like the UT thing.
Yeah.
I like the diversity of the people there. I love learning about new mindsets, different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
And I went in as a Spanish major, because that's like the only thing I felt like I was good at in school. So, which meant that in liberal arts, I had to take a lot of like philosophy-like classes, a lot of science. Like, for some reason, they make you take so much science.
Interesting, yeah.
And so I felt like my experience at UT was, it was almost very strengthening to my faith, if anything. I believe in absolute truth.
Yeah.
Which I would say a lot of people on UT campus would disagree with.
Yeah.
They'd say, truth is relative, truth is true to you, and truth is true to you, and truth is true to you. And everything that I learned, I felt like I was just being more solidified and no, there is absolute truth. And we walk across in the tower every day. You look at the tower, and ingrained into the stone on the tower are words that say, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Wow.
And I loved walking by that tower every day because every day that went by, I was just more conclusive about the idea that truth can never be created. And it can only be discovered.
Wow.
Like it's just going to continue to be uncovered like a fossil, but you can't just like make it out of thin air.
Wow. Yeah. So like thinking years, philosophical years, like affirming, how you see the world and beliefs in those years, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And during this time, how was your like music, I don't know whether to call it career or journey or what, but how was your relationship with music like evolving in this time period of your life too?
At the time, I was in a worship band, the Response Band.
Okay, yeah.
Which was a band that formed out of the youth group I grew up in.
Yeah.
And we were going to different conferences and retreats. It seemed like almost every weekend. It was like every weekend. So I felt like I was writing with the mindset of, connecting to younger people to have an experience and in a way that's authentic and engaging.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I was writing a lot of corporate, say, worship music.
Yeah.
But I still was also trying to figure out and experiment with just what you would say songwriting.
Yeah.
Songwriting and I think corporate worship are like two different.
Sure.
Two different, really different like approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. No, that makes sense. It makes sense. And one of the music highlights, at least to me, is a highlight and fascinating that I'm curious about is you went on American Idol, right? So tell me about that process. I'm so curious because this was before the reboot of American Idol, right?
Yeah,
so this is like Simon Cowell days and everything, right?
Actually, no.
He wasn't on?
No.
Okay.
It was Keith Urban, J-Lo, Harry Connick Jr.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the judges.
Okay, cool. So before, like, how does that even work? Like, how do they decide who gets in front of those judges? Are you doing like pre-rounds?
Yeah,
like, what's the behind the scenes?
Like, kind of a lot of, I think you do 3 rounds before you get to the actual judges.
3 rounds before the judges.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you do this big like cattle call in like the Frank Irwin Center.
Wow.
Where it's like, sing, and they're like, step forward, okay, you guys are, so they cut people like a lot there.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Do you remember being nervous? Like, is this something like, did you want to do this? Did friends push you to this? Like, how did that even develop? That you're like, I'm going to go try out for American Idol?
American Idol was because I want to pursue music after school. Being with the judges today was really fun and exciting for me. I feel like I wasn't too nervous. And these people have been, they've been in my ears for a long time, just ever since I could get music off the internet. So it was just cool for me to be the one to be playing for them and singing for them rather than like being at their concert. And it just seemed like something like fun to do.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that could happen is someone say no.
Right.
And I did have some friends at the time who said like, she should do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, why not? But
yeah.
I would have never probably done it if someone hadn't said like, go do this.
Yeah. And how did you, I'm curious, like everybody who's ever heard you sing is like, she's unbelievable, right? How do you view yourself when you're going to try out for American Idol? You're like, they're going to say no for sure. Are you like assuming this is like everybody else is amazing? Or did you have like a confidence to be like, no, this is a gifting, this is a talent I have? Like, how did it feel for you?
It's hard to like go back in time so far.
Yeah.
I feel like that experience like gave me more of a confidence in music or like in where I was.
Yeah.
So I think at the time I don't think I'm ever like super nervous.
Yeah.
To me it's music is almost more of like telling a story and less about performance or showing off talent.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So your perspective plays into that a lot, like how you're even approaching the scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I mean, I had a lot of stage experience and like nerves weren't super there.
That's great. Yeah, that's cool.
And it was just like, my life is great. And like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah. Yeah. So not afraid of the rejection, and you didn't get one for a while. So you go through 3 rounds, right? Yeah. And then you're in front of the judges. And where was it? Like, was that in Austin?
Was at the Austin Convention Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have like any sense of like walking in front of these celebrities? Like, did the stakes raise at that point, or were you still like, nope, I'm just telling a story?
You know what I told myself before?
What's that?
I was like, they all pooped this morning. So that's if I get nervous or
perfect.
I'm like, oh, they went poop this morning, like just like anyone else. So
that's like. For anybody like performs sports, public speaking, that's just like the new go-to. Like, honestly, everybody in this
you might have more money than me, but like you're different than me.
That's incredible. That's like one of the most brilliant insights.
Yeah, if you ever get nervous, just tell yourself like.
Yeah. That's awesome. What was your song? What did you audition in front of them?
I know. I did. I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz, which is, don't ask me why.
It was just the one that day, and it was good enough for them to say, like, on to Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So did you get a golden ticket? Is that how it worked? Do you still have it? Do you still have your golden ticket?
Oh, gosh. I think I do. I think I do have it, yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to Hollywood Week, and then, I mean, the way they make it look on the show is it's like torture. Like, you're sleep deprived and crazy comparison, and people are fighting. And so is it as chaotic as they make it look? Did they dramatize it?
I did get 45 minutes of sleep.
No way.
That like the second night, I got 45 minutes of sleep. So, that was real.
Yeah.
The drama is, they really just kind of accentuate the drama.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Other than, I mean, like, I met a lot of really cool people. I keep in touch with, some of the people that I met who are still in Austin.
Wow.
But they definitely like zoom in on the drama. But the no sleep thing that's real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who won the season you were on? Like, do you remember meeting them or seeing them there?
The rocker.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool. Any highlight memories from that trip, the Hollywood Week?
Let's see here. I'm trying to think. I think my favorite part was I had to sing this song, Up to the Mountain by Patty Griffin.
Okay.
And she had written that. It's a song that she wrote. She's an Austin singer-songwriter.
Okay.
And it was based on a Martin Luther King speech.
Wow.
And I had looked at the title of it and was like, well, that's a great title of a song. I don't even care what it sounds like. I'll make it to how I connect to it. So that's the song I learned. Did I need to, perform on the spot? And I did have to perform on the spot.
Wow.
They made any contestant who had only gotten 2 yeses. I only got 2 yeses.
Okay.
And JLo had said no.
Okay.
She's like, you have a nice voice, but it's too sweet, and I want a little more, oomph to it. And so this song was more demanding, and it had more of a range, and so I picked that, but ended up getting to sing that. We had gone out there in December after the year, and it kind of was just this song that I felt like kind of told about my year, so I was able to connect to it, and so I think that was a super memorable moment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
That's wild. Do you remember what the judges said? Said like what their compliments were?
They were like all over the map. Like at my audition, Harry Connick Jr. said I would buy a ticket to see you in concert.
Wow.
And he's the one that I respect the most.
Yeah,
so
wow.
I'm
That's
like, I'll take that. And then
so
Keith
cool.
said yeah.
Yeah.
And then JLo said that she liked my singing, but she just wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're the same. I mean, you're performing in front of them again in Hollywood Week,
Yes.
right? So
you had to
getting
win
build
that.
on.
The judge that said no, you had to win them over.
Right.
So.
Did you do any of the group performances there or anything like that? And what was that like? Was that hard to get everybody on the same page, or did you have a good group, or what?
It was like, here's your list of songs that you can choose from. Pick your group. You have until tomorrow morning to have everything choreographed and figured out. And so it was like a scramble. It was like, do you sort people based on the song that they are wanting to sing, or do you base it off of group, like just strangers,
Yeah.
So I think we just grabbed whoever was around us, and one of the girls in my group, she ended up going pretty far. But anyway, for a group round, we sang Don't You Worry, Child, or something by Mafia. What is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget the band name, but that was where I fell. I knew I was going home after that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was when you finally did get the no, was it sad? Was it a letdown, or was that still the same? I'm just grateful to be here.
I was like, I knew this was coming. It was like I had gotten 45. I need 8 hours of sleep. Like that's just part of who I am.
Yeah.
And so you have to watch every single group go before you. So that doesn't help with you're sitting there for 8 hours watching everyone else. And then I kind of forgot the words. And then I just feel awkward when I don't have an instrument, to hug or to hide behind.
Right.
And so I wasn't quite I'm not okay with just not having an instrument. That was weird.
Yeah.
And then you're also in front of all of these other people who are wanting to still stay. So I knew I was going home.
Wow.
And it was okay. It was fine. Yeah.
Any just big takeaways from that experience? Is there something? I feel like I learned that from.
Yeah, I definitely learned through that experience that I am an artist. I'm not an entertainer.
Wow. How would you define the difference, in your words?
You don't own me.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to perform for you. I'm not here to entertain for you. I'm an artist, and I want to create. And if I'm the only one in the whole world that connects to what I'm creating, I'm okay with that.
That's powerful.
And that even better if there's other people that connect to what I'm creating myself.
How do you land on that perspective? I feel like that's really difficult for people to get to in whatever their interest or craft is. We're, as a culture, so consumed with what people think about us, and it's just pleasing others, and it's just what people expect me to be, or,
Yeah, I feel like I have a little bit of rebel or streak in me or something. I think that I have this thematic experience in my life of a mandala. You know what a mandala is?
Mm-mm.
It's essentially this practice that monks, they spend years and years, and they have these different colored sands, and they create these beautiful, I don't even know what you call it, but these beautiful motifs with these sands.
Okay.
And once it's done, they blow it all away. And so they build it, and then once it's done, they let go of it, and they blow it away. And it's supposed to be this spiritual lesson that they learn, you know, or something of letting go. And so for me, I kind of feel myself gravitate toward that no matter what I'm doing in life, of like, if I feel that people are tying me in a certain way or place, I'm like, okay, it's time to, it's time to blow away and then rebuild whatever I'm supposed to do now.
Yeah. Well, it certainly feels unique. Like, it feels like a posture that a lot of us would like aspire to, you know, because there's a weight and an anxiety or a fear that goes along with how most of us live life. That not saying you're never afraid or never anxious, but you know, it does feel like just a different perspective. It's really cool. Okay, so American Idol, I think it's amazing. I think that's really cool. And that's later in college, right? I mean, that's junior, senior year of college, something like that.
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
It's my senior year of college, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then post-college, what is, you know, music from there? Like, how does it continue to develop for you?
Yeah, post-college, I had been teaching a lot of music lessons, so teaching younger people about just the fundamentals of music. Was leading worship at quite a few different churches around Austin.
Yeah.
I was involved still with the response band, kind of going around and still doing conferences and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then also I had started doing a lot more women's ministry, which was really cool. Getting involved in like these women who had groups and they all believed in the same thing and they wanted to incorporate music into whatever they were doing. And so I started doing that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then when did you release your first album? That was 2017?
2016.
16? Okay.
Yeah,
okay. And you've released 2 now, right?
Yes.
One last year as well. What was the inspiration behind your first album?
The first album was an allegory. It was inspired by a book called Hind's Feet for High Places.
Okay.
And it's about a spiritual journey of a person who decides to wholeheartedly follow God.
Wow.
So it's kind of them going through me as in third person, going through all of these different landscapes. Yeah. And the dry and the lessons that you learn on the journey. So that was definitely a spiritually driven, but a personal, very, very personal journey for me.
And what about the one in 2021? That was just last year, right?
The songs on that one started shortly after the one in 2016. So those songs were compiled from like 2017 all the way through 2020.
Wow, okay, yeah.
And those were very different. These were more about people I had met that taught me something. Yeah. Or other people's stories that impacted me. Mm-hmm. So I would say that these songs are more of like these pocket portraits that I was just had in my pocket. It's just something you look at and you observe, but it's just in song form. Wow. So the album's called Tattoo Sessions. It's the idea of someone going in and putting something on them that's always going to stay. Wow. And so at the time I was booking half days in the studio. Okay. Because it was therapy. People go get tattoos because it's almost like a therapy, in a way. And I was like, I just enjoy doing this. Yeah. And then I accidentally made an album. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was weird. And everyone was like, no, these are, everyone who was working around him like, no, these are all really cohesive. I think you made an album. Whoa. I was like, it's my oopsie album.
No, that's powerful.
So it was good. It was fun.
Yeah. I'm curious in the ways that lots of people are creative, right? Because I think sometimes, I don't know, in our culture we almost talk about it like it's a skill set like only certain people have. And I think it's a lot broader than that, like that when people find their interest, their passion, their talent, it doesn't have to be in one personality or one kind of outcome, that there's just so many ways that people go about that process. But for you, I mean, specific to songwriting, what if you were to try to summarize, this is how, it goes from kind of this idea stage to actually like birthing a song. What does that whole like kind of journey look like for you?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. The beginning of it or the initial process of it, I feel like is different. Yeah. It's either I have something that I want to teach, or it's an interesting word
Okay.
Like it's a word that
Yeah.
catches, and I'm like developing the ideas around the word.
Yeah.
Like a piece of
So you have like an initial inspiration around something you want to say, like
Mm-hmm.
some idea, some word, some concept. And do you feel like you'll pick that up from like living life? Do
Living
you feel
life.
like that? Okay.
living life.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're like, there's something here. There's something to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go develop that. Do you feel like more often than not then, like the lyrics come before the melody that accompanies it? Or do you ever have like, oh, this is going to be something I need to figure out what to say?
I feel like most often the ideas come from mistakes. Like I'll be playing something or messing around with something and I'll play something wrong.
Yeah.
And then oh, that sounded cool.
How cool is
And
that?
then I'll take that and you'll just take that and you'll roll with it.
Yeah.
Or like you'll wake up with this melody hook line.
Yeah.
And you ask any musician, there's the voice memo app on the phone.
Okay.
And you just get that out and you just like hum your idea into it and go back to it later. So like if you're on a road trip or whatever,
Yeah.
it's called voice memo roulette, where you like it's a game you play with other musicians
Yeah.
and you like you blindly go through your voice memos and you scroll and then whatever you press you have to like play for everyone.
Right.
Because it's just like those really vulnerable moments of you and you're just like,
Yeah.
you know, just into your phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of times I'll just like have this idea or I'll hear like a melody line
Yeah.
or I'll feel a beat. And so I'll record it into the voice memo on my phone.
That's a great
And then I'll
idea.
take it when I have more time, go back to it, and then kind of start asking like, what are you trying to say to me?
Yeah.
I ask it like, what are you saying to me? What do you want me to write?
Whoa. That's what I'm saying, like universal principles in that, like whatever it could be that you're creating the idea of like these ideas coming from mistakes, these ideas coming from failures, like the willingness to try, to take risks, to mess
Right.
up, like that's a universal, that's so cool. Or being just intentional. I mean, the voice memo thing, like the intentionality of thought, the intentionality of I'm going to capture this idea, record it, remember it, come back to it. I mean, whatever it is that you're creating, trying to, whatever the inspiration is, that's something that's universal, I think, across all kinds of fields.
I think so.
Cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to like put you on the spot, but is there anything like almost in the advice lane you'd give to somebody about their own creative process, their own like it, man, if they're stuck, they think they have an idea to give to the world or bring to the world or whatever, but anything that's like in seasons for you where you've been stuck or in seasons for you like feeling insecure about what you're trying to bring out that you give to people?
I think the advice that I would give is don't listen to the voices. Any voices. Don't listen to the voices that say, hey, you're good at that.
Yeah.
Or don't listen to the voices that say that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Try to be as neutral as possible and ask yourself, is this something that I connect with?
Wow.
Whether it be an entrepreneurial idea, product idea, a writing piece, a story, like any sort of creative process, I would say, like it's a very vulnerable and fragile thing, and in my creative process, I feel like I need to keep it in the womb, keep it protected, under wraps or in the dark. Work on it in the dark, and push the voices away.
Wow.
That would be my advice.
No,
whatever
that's
that
fantastic.
means to the person listening can mean that.
No, that's fantastic.
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself or be what other people expect you to be, but be, holy you as you possibly can be.
Wow. Let's see. There's been, so much in there, and I appreciate you sharing your story and trusting us with your story, and the faith elements of your story as well, being vulnerable and open with that, and obviously people listening all over the map. Austin's one of the most diverse cities in the world, which is cool. Backgrounds, cultures, belief systems, and love being a part of this city, and for so many reasons. What would you say, kind of, maybe final question, is there anything inspiring you today? Like what today is like, man, this is bringing hope, or this is maybe my next album, or this is what's drawing, I'm curious about maybe right now, just, anything bigger than you that you're kind of inspired by right now?
Well, I mean, it always kind of, for me, it goes back to this philosophy that I told you about earlier, where truth can only be discovered and it can never be created. And I feel like that rings in my mind a lot right now based in the world that we live in.
Sure.
So I find a lot of inspiration in anything that beautifies that idea or concept.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much again, seriously, for letting us come in here, asking a whole lot of questions about your life. I think it's helpful and inspiring.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.